All right, for those of you watching us live on Facebook, I'm going to request you to sit down, relax. We're going to be taking you on a journey for about 30-40 minutes, and we're going to be starting in the next few seconds from now. So if you want to grab yourself some water, you're most welcome to do so. I've got some very special people who are currently fighting cancer. Really, really excited to hear from you, Mark. So
Thank you.
Great. So first and foremost, a special thanks to Mark for joining me on this show, and to all you lovely people watching me out there. This is the Chat with the Warrior, and it took me a long time to think, where do I have to start with, and who do I have to start with. After a lot of meditation and a lot of silence, I was very sure that I was going to start with this very beautiful person that's sharing the screen with me. Honestly, Mark and myself have not interacted professionally with each other too much, even though we come from the same industry. However, I'm going to take the privilege of introducing Mark to each one of you. If you are from the event management fraternity, this name will definitely catch your attention. One of the most renowned MCs. Well, he restricts himself to Bangalore, I'll say across the country, somebody I looked up to so much in life. I'm going to say one incident actually when I was in class 10, and that should be in the year 2000. I was dancing with a team. I've never brought this up to you, Mark. I was dancing with the dance team then, and we were in Hotel Taj, and this was Taj Connemara. And I remember there was no space for green room, so the toilet was right behind. The dancers had to change and enter. And I was peeping to that little door, and I could see you on the stage. At that point of time, I always thought the stage was only for a woman. All right, it was only rock that stage. It's only a woman who could get that attention. And I was obviously a little girl that time. I was in 10th standard. I was all about 15, 16 years old. And I seen this dynamic personality on stage. And instantly, me being a dancer back then itself, instantly I said, wow, if I was ever to go on stage, this is the energy I would like to give out. Honestly, I never thought back then I would ever become an MC. I thought I would always be dancing. And this is something I've never told you, and it's very, very special. That was my first introduction to you. So I would like the whole society, community hearing this. This is when I see Mark first on stage. He was then a hero, now an even more hero to many people. Well, let's dive in a little more into Mark. Mark started off his career all about 15 years old. He started off with the hotel industry, washing utensils, cleaning utensils, amazing worker, very greatness communication, and I should say one of those people known for his very positive mindsets. At least professionally, that's what got him growing. After spending more than a decade in the hotel industry, Mark went on to do a lot of stuff. And with that, I'm going to request you all to please put your hands together for Mark Rego, an MC, a singer, a person with a hotelier who runs 3 restaurants today in Bangalore itself. I should say one of my favorite titles that he plays is the counselor for kids fighting cancer. Most people who know him really well will know about his passion for gardening and his ability to cook. He still cooks our community favorite recipe, include those pickles that those of you like to taste. Mark Rigo is one of those people, and an animal lover who has a home with a mini zoo in it. And for all those of you know Mark really well, but do not know, Mark is a passionate mask collector. If I've got the number right, he's got about 800 masks from across the world in his collection. Did I get that right, Mark?
Absolutely, absolutely.
That was Mark Rego in a nutshell. So once again, a big hand of applause to this lovely, beautiful soul right in front, sharing the screen with me.
Thank you.
Mark has also been married. This year, I think he's going to be celebrating his 25 years wedding anniversary, if I got it right. And am I right? Closely?
28 years.
28 years, okay. And he's got 2 beautiful kids. So while I started off his journey from all about 1985, I'm going to start this interview from the year 2009. because that was a landmark event in Mark's life. So, Mark, 2009, you were first diagnosed with a little cyst on your thigh.
That's right.
And then what happened?
So at that point in time, I was at the peak of my career as an MC. Um, I made the switch from the hotel industry to becoming an MC. And it was only because of my vocal abilities. I could speak well, I could sing well, I could communicate pretty well. And well, I was just having fun, and my kids. May I just correct you? My kids now they're not 7.5 and 5 anymore. This is a long time ago. My daughter is 26 now, and my son is 24. But so at that point in time, they were like really tiny. Yeah, they were 7.5 and 5 years old then. And then I just had this little lump at the back of my thigh, and I went to my mom and I told my mom, I said, Mom, I've got this little lump. Do you thing? So she just, okay, I was like 27 or something. So I pull your pants down. So I actually did, and she pinched the lump. She actually pinched it. And she said, does it pain? So I said, no, it doesn't. She says, you got to be worried. You got to be worried. I'm taking you tomorrow to the doctor. Now, may I just add over here that my mom, who's still alive, she's still alive, kicking. She's 84 years old. She was also a cancer survivor. And if anybody has fought it more than me, it's her. She's been through 18 operations, I think. I've lost count of it. She's been through years and years of radiation, chemotherapy, and whatever. So anyway, I trusted her, and I said, okay, let's. Luckily, at that point in time, my wife had medical insurance at one of the best hospitals in Bangalore. So we were medically covered. Financially, I didn't have to spend anything. So we went to the Malia hospital, and we went for a test, and the doctor just looked at it and said, like, oh yeah, it looks like, fatty tissue. You come in tomorrow, make an appointment, and we'll lance it. Those were his words. We'll lance it and we'll take it out, and you can go home in about half an hour's time. So anyway, the next day I went back, and it turned out that 15 minutes turned out to be, I think, a few hours operation. And so basically, the lump that was on my thigh, if you understand what a muffin looks like, okay, it's that little sweet kind of a bun, and there's a lot of it, like a cherry on top. My lump was the cherry. Underneath my skin was a tennis ball sized, what do you call it, tumor. And that operation turned out to be a lot longer till they removed it. And when they removed it, it was sent, the doctors were actually pretty shocked. They sent it for a biopsy, and unfortunately, it actually came back malignant. So yeah, that's where my first journey with radiation and those years in Bangalore, which is, we didn't have that great advanced treatment for cancer. It was like mainly radiation. Chemotherapy was there, yes, but it wasn't as advanced as it is now. So I went through a whole lot of radiation, first of all, which is like, oh my God, the most painful procedure any human being could go through. Yeah, so I was shattered. I was absolutely shattered. Just imagine, being so successful. The whole of Bangalore knew me. I was in the newspapers. I was a page 3 kind of a person. I was in the newspapers almost every week. I mean, it was like I was a rock star. But then suddenly when something like this hits you, it's just like, it's a wake-up call. Yeah, so that's how my, if I could call it tryst or journey with cancer started.
And adding to that, what was your state of mind when you got to know that your cyst was cancerous? How did you react to the?
I was absolutely shattered, absolutely shattered. I mean, nobody at that age group would think, you'd get cancer. And especially when you're at such a high level of in the entertainment industry, I was just having fun. I was doing 2 shows, 3 shows a day, going between this hotel and that resort and this resort. So it just absolutely shattered me. But thankfully, my mom was there. My mom was there, and I had seen what my mom had been through during her fight with cancer, and she was always so. By the way, my mom fought cancer when I was maybe, I think, 13 or 14, maybe 15 years old, and I'm one of 5 siblings. Despite her illness and chemo, radiation, whatever, she never ever. Geez, I'm getting emotional. She never ever let the family down. She cooked for us. She would, in the middle of cooking, she'd be puking, but she always looked at us. So I got my strength from her. And so when I was finally was with this, mom came and just gave me one tight slap, and she said, "You will bloody fight this. If not, I will belt you. I will belt you." Those were the words she used. And I don't know. I guess I got strength, my strength and my positivity from her. And yeah, that's how it is. I just told myself, I'll do it. And I did it. I'm sorry, I'm a very emotional person.
Wow, that was intense. Thank you for sharing that with us, Mark. And
That's all right.
in my own journey, I could relate to these emotions, and those emotions come from such a deep place of what kept us going, what keeps us going, and who we are today, and what makes us that warrior. So, thank you, honestly, thank you for sharing that with us. Can we move ahead?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
So that was in 2009, and your surgery happened, and according to you, you were done with the journey of cancer. Probably, I'm assuming at that point of time. Then in 2011, the cancer shows up again. What happens then?
So basically, what happened is, I think the first time I was diagnosed, it was, as they call it, they use these stupid terms: first stage, second stage, third stage, fourth stage. So the first time it was, as they said, first stage, um, and it had not spread. It was nuclear and all that. So once they removed the malignant cyst, uh, and once my treatment was over, which was maybe about 6 to 9 months, whatever, went back for my tests, and I was proclaimed cancer free. And that is where I made my biggest mistake. That is where I made the mistake. I just went back. Not just went back. I mean, I was still working. I was still doing shows despite going for radiation, chemo, whatever. I made the mistake of letting my guard down. I never went back for checkups. My mistake. My mistake. I never went back for checkups. I was young. I was happy. I had beautiful children. I was so financially, well, not so financially secure, but um, I was doing pretty well. I never went back for my checkups. And I don't know, it just, because of that, it just, well, spread. I didn't even know. I started over a period of about 2 months, 3 months, I think. I had this loose tummy, and throughout those 2 or 3 months, I used to keep going to the loo, and it was uh, always loose stools. So I went to a doctor and I checked it up, and they said, "Oh yeah, first they said it's dysentery. How long can dysentery last? 1 day, 2 days, the maximum." Then they said, "Okay, no, it's amoebiasis. You got a stomach infection, so take these tablets and whatever." And then I started noticing I started passing blood in my stools. And that is when I got worried. So I went back. Who do I go back to? I went back to my mom. She's the expert. So we went, she said, like, "Come on, son, let's go back. Go back to Kidwai Memorial Hospital, where I was treated, where mom was treated. And they did some tests, and voila. Ouch. It had affected my colon. And because of my fault, because I've not gone for my checkups, treatments, or whatever, I was told like it was in the 4th stage. It's like really bad. And so I was operated on, and well, they gave me a choice. Do you want to get operated or you want to go through this treatment? And they said, like, because it's so bad and whatever, it's a big risk that you're going to take. So I said, what the hell, just do it. And they operated on me, and they took out, I think, half my intestines, whatever. And then the real battle started. The real battle started. Pain is indescribable, but yeah, they put me onto. I did a bit of radiation, but then after that, it was all just chemotherapy. But I must tell you this incident. uh, as an MC, okay, I was an MC, and one of my best friends, his name was Agostino Carvalho. He was my colleague in Goa many years prior in my hotel career. So he had asked me to MC his wedding about 6 months prior. And I said, yeah, buddy, no worries. I'll be over there. Give me the date. And also I marked the date in my calendar, like all MCs do. And I did not know. I never knew that I had cancer at that time. And then 3 days prior to his wedding, I was operated. And I'm a person who, if I make a commitment, if I make a promise, I try and keep it as much as possible. Well, that's the way I like to think about it. So since I'd made this commitment to him, I was operated. My whole backside was stitched up in a very obnoxious place because it was colon cancer. I actually went to the doctor and told the doctor, I said, like, listen, I've got Agostino's wedding. I need to go and MC that. And it's in Goa, mind you. I'm living in Bangalore. He says, like, listen, you just had such a major operation. You got your entire body stitched up the back. You can't even travel. You can't. I said, I don't care. You give me painkillers. You give me what you want. I will leave on the evening flight. I will go and MC his wedding, and I will come back on the morning flight. And I'll get back into hospital. And they said, there's no way we're going to do it. So I had to sign an undertaking, and my mom was next to me. I had to sign an undertaking saying that, I'm leaving the hospital at my own risk. And any complications that arise, the doctors will not be responsible. So I did that. I had a very, very faithful driver, Sebastian, who sadly and ironically developed the same identical cancer many years later on in life. And sadly, he lost the battle very recently. So he drove me to the airport. I was on painkillers. I'm a guy. I wore a sanitary pad because I was bleeding and bleeding and bleeding. I'm not ashamed to say that. But I went there. I emceed his wedding. Yeah, I didn't jump around like I normally do, but it was a very sober kind of a wedding. I did that, took the flight, and I came back the next day.
When you mentioned this episode to me, the one thing that I want to ask you was, how did it feel swapping from this world of cancer to this world of entertainment and glamour and energy? They're so different from each other. How did you manage that too?
I was living a lie. I was living a life.
And which
To be honest with you, except for my close family, my immediate family, nobody even knew. Nobody even knew that I was fighting cancer. Nobody, because it was just charade that I put on when I went on stage. Only I know the pain. Only I know um, what I was going through inside. But as an artist and as a very, I don't like boasting about myself, but the whole of the city used to look up to me. As you mentioned, you used to look up to me. Nobody knew. I didn't want them to know what my internal problems were, what I was going through. So it was a charade. Every time I walked into the house, I would wear these fancy clothes. I would wear my biggest smile. I will go and do my show. But when I come home, I know the consequences. Uh, there was the pain, there was the nausea, there was the bleeding, whatever. So this is how I managed it for a long, long, long time.
and that must have been difficult. That must have been really difficult.
Very, very difficult.
So, are you saying that most people from the industry came to know much later on that you have cancer, or people don't know till now?
Yeah, yeah. Most people, a lot of people, well, society came to know of it much later. It's only when I decided on my own to go public with it. And that is when I started talking about it. And by then, Facebook was up. I mean, in my initial stages, we didn't have Facebook, we didn't have WhatsApp, we didn't have social media. So one fine day, I just decided on my own. I said, yeah, let's go public with it because if I could help other people out who are fighting this battle by speaking about my story, that's all that mattered. And I think I've achieved that to a large extent.
And when was this? At which stage of your life did you go public with it?
Okay, so basically, the second time my cancer returned, I used to go for my treatment to the Kidwa Memorial Hospital, and it's a government hospital, not one of those really ultra modern, super gadget kind of things, but it is, in my opinion, I think the best cancer treatment uh, hospital in India. I used to go there because my mom was treated there, and my mom being an ex-member of parliament, I used to get we come under the central government health scheme. So I used to get a sort of a discount for my treatments and whatever. And you can't really jump the queue over there. It's a government hospital. So you go in the morning, you take a token, and you just sit for hours and hours and hours waiting for your chance to come up so that you can get your treatment. And it was at that point in time, I was sitting and we had, people coming from districts that are really rural. I mean, poor people. They probably don't even have money to find the next meal, but they were sitting next to me. And I saw a lot of them coming, with small children, small kids, tiny kids, some of the kids newborn with leukemia, newborn with cancer. And even the needle for the chemo, would not even fit into their veins. They were so tiny. And my kids were pretty small at the time. So I sort of felt it. So I made two promises to God. Then I said, um, if you save me, God, if you save me for my kids, one is I promise you I'll do something for these children. And the second promise that I made was I would go back to church. I had left the church many, many years ago for whatever reasons, but I said I will go back to you, God, and I'll do something even for the church. So um, later on, yeah, I went and I did a course on child counseling. Once I recovered, that is, did a course on child counseling, and yeah, I started volunteering in the same hospital um, to help people, help families, these poor families who had kids infected with cancer, and that's how my journey with counseling started. I'm sorry, I hope I answered your question.
Okay, just go on. I'll come back to go on. Yeah, yeah. That's how
Yeah,
you
so
with counseling started?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, my initial question was when did you go public? But I got to understand that it was in your when the cancer came back, and that should have been
Yeah,
some.
yeah. Okay, okay, okay. Sorry. I'll answer that question. So when I actually started working with these kids, and it was so fulfilling. I can't tell you, it was so fulfilling. It was even heart-wrenching at times because I saw a lot of these kids who lost their lives they lost the battle to cancer. But every time one of those little kids walked out of the hospital and, the doctors gave them, as we call it, the green signal that they were cancer-free, it lifted up my heart because I knew I played a small, small, tiny little role. Even it was just holding the hand, or, talking to them or explaining to the parents what the treatment was. Um, that is when I decided, okay, it's time you do something, Mr. Mark Rego. It's time that, so I'll phrase it this way. So in those days, still is, to a certain extent, cancer is a bad word, was a bad word. And a lot of people still believe, oh, I got cancer, I'm going to die. And here I am, a living, walking example. Fought it twice. I've survived it. Come on, let's just give someone hope. So that is when I went public with it on Facebook, and I said, like, okay, so in case you did not know, uh, I've been battling cancer. I fought it. I won the battle. Anybody needs help, call me. Call me, baby. Call me. And through my counseling work, a lot of people, yeah, they connect with me. Uh, my dad's got cancer. What do I do? Which doctor do I see? Uh, these are his reports. How serious is it? How serious is it? And, yeah, for the lay people, it would seem very trivial, these questions. But as a person who's actually been there, done that, I know what it feels like. And who better to answer these questions than me? So unabashedly, I'm pretty proud about what I did. Yeah, it's ruffled a few feathers here and there, but what the hell, it doesn't matter. I know I've saved a few lives.
How did the community respond to you when you mentioned that you were fighting cancer? And I also want to know, how did you feel just going out there and letting people know who you were and actually show yourself like the way you were? How did that make you feel?
So the community reacting is like, oh my gosh, we never knew. Uh, there was a lot of disbelief. I did have a few, and I still have a few detractors like bullshit. He's bullshitting. Um, that's the way the reactions were. As I said, because I kept it private, because I kept it personal, only me and my immediate family knew what I was going through. But it never worried me. Really never worried me. I'm actually proud that I went public with it because after I went public with it, that is when I started getting a lot of, as I said, a lot of calls, help here and there.
So going public with it did make you feel more connected with reality. Can I say that?
You use the words. You use the right words.
Well, before I go on to the next episode, I'm going to ask you, how many cycles of chemo have you completed in your whole journey of cancer?
All right. So the first time I had it, I think, what, two cycles of chemo, definitely. The first time, 2009, or the year about then, because most of it was radiation then. That was the first time I got it. The second time I had, I think, about 12 over a period of 2 years, sort of. And then this time I had, I think, another 6 or 7 cycles. And I think what the doctors tell me is Normally now in today's modern age, normal human being your body could probably handle about 6, 7, 8, maximum 9. I don't know. I think I beat that record, but this is over a long period of time.
Okay. So that brings us close to about 20 cycles of chemo. And when I heard your story, I actually reached out to a few doctors to find out how many cycles of chemo would be normal. And when I told them that you went through 20 cycles of chemo, the first reaction was like, wow, that's amazing. He should have been a really strong human being. That's the first reaction I got from the doctors. And because cancer is one journey, but chemo and radiation by itself is an extremely difficult um, journey to be on. And I've known
Sorry, I think a call just came through.
I've known people who did not want to fight cancer because they did not want to go through the journey of chemo. And what made you go through this 20 cycles of chemo the way you did? I don't have a word how you how you went through it, but I just want to know what what was it that you held on to and you managed to complete the 20 cycles?
Uh, ouch. Difficult question. I don't know. I personally believe, and I live that in like everyday life even now, that, and when it came to particularly to answer your question about cancer, I think I believe now that 80 to 90% of fighting this disease, this illness, is here in your head. It's here in your head. If you want to fight it, you can. It's a difficult battle. Only I know what I've been through, right? But if you want to fight it, you make up your mind and you fight it. The rest of it is you leave it in your doctor's hands, you leave it in God's hands, you leave it in everybody else's hands. So my thing was, I didn't want to die young. I'm I had such a beautiful life. I mean, I had a great family. I had fantastic upbringing. I had a fantastic career. I just didn't want to give it up. I just didn't want to give it up. So I just told myself, like, to hell with it. I am going to, I'm just going to do this. And I honestly, I went about everyday life as it was just another day. Forget the pain, forget the nausea, forget the bleeding, forget the whatever. Just go and do. And I think once again, I'm going to give credit to my mom because that's the way we were brought up. We were brought up in a very simple, humble, uh, lower middle class kind of a family where even in those days, a meal on the table was like, wow. So we were brought up tough. Oh, yeah, brought up tough. We were belted if we didn't do our chores. We were whatever. So I think it was that strength that I got from my mom that trickled down into me. And I think I still got that strength.
Um, the one thing that I've noticed in patients who are fighting cancer and going through chemo is the physical difference that you can actually see.
Yeah.
In
Yeah.
terms of losing hair, in terms of weight loss, what was your like and how did you cope with that difference? Especially coming from the entertainment industry, you got to be up there on stage.
Absolutely.
That is so important. What was
Yeah.
that?
So I'm just drinking some juice. Um, Believe it or not, I'm going to be very honest. I mean, as you mentioned, you've seen me as an MC when you were young. I was perhaps the first guy in Bangalore who started bleaching my hair, and this was like way back. I used to be looked at on the street like, "Hey man, who's this moron?" You know, those days guys didn't bleach their hair and whatever. Um, I still have bleached hair. So my biggest fear actually was, oh my God, I was told I lose all my hair and I lose my hairstyle. And mind you, those days I was pretty fit and pretty active. I'm also a sports person. So I weighed, I think, about between 75 and 80 odd kilos. And I went down to, I think at my lowest, I went down to about 39 kilos during my treatment. So I basically lost half my body weight. I wouldn't say I lost all my hair. I didn't go bald, but I had a massive amount of hair fall, which post chemo, it grew back. In fact, it's actually grown back a lot thicker now. So yeah, my biggest worry was, damn, I'm going to lose my hairstyle. That's what everybody knows Mark for. He's the guy. Oh, Mark Rego. Yeah, that guy with gold hair. It became my sort of signature. So I was very worried about my hairstyle. As far as my body was concerned, oh yeah, it took its toll. It took its, even now, I mean, I find it very difficult to put on weight. But thankfully, even though I'm skinny now, I think I'm pretty healthy. Yeah.
I hear you. So,
Oh, by the way, I love your hairstyle, and I love the way you do that. And I'm not flirting with you, huh?
so coming back to 2012, when you just completed fighting the second round of cancer, coming back, you went back to study. You went to Tata Memorial Institute. You took your course up in counseling. You came back, and you started working with kids. I was following up a story till there, and that must have given you a lot of comfort, a lot of soul purpose after fighting the journey yourself, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, and then yeah, sorry, go on. You came to
Yeah.
say.
So as I was saying, remember I was telling you about the second promise I made God was like, I'll do something for these kids. So I got involved with a few of my very close friends. They happened to be my neighbors who lived across the wall, and they opened up a little foundation called Jivarani Foundation, uh, which is meant for orphan children, basically children from the poorest of backgrounds. And I started helping them out with that. And that is how my journey with working with kids came on. It's basically I wanted to fulfill a promise that I made to God. If He saved my kids, I'll do something for these kids. So my journey with working with children started over here. And in fact, 2 minutes before we went live, I was actually having a long conversation with Meena, who's the main trustee of Jivarani, because I think our website was down. And so, yeah, it brings me a lot of joy now, just being with kids. I mean, they're so simple. They're so, uh, that's it. They have very basic needs, very basic needs. And if you can somehow in your capacity step in somewhere, it could be anywhere, with sharing a sign, you could make a difference to them. So yeah, that's how my journey with working with kids started. And I still work with a lot of kids.
Thank you for sharing that with us. And let's move on to the next episode in Mark's life. And that was, so 2011 to 2014, you completed your next stage of fighting the disease. And then you went on to live life like yourself to the fullest. In 2018, what shows up for you then?
Bang, bang, it's back. Yeah, so yeah, I still used to go for I learned my lesson from the first time. So the second time I had my cancer, I used to go regularly for my checkups and whatever. And then I went through a little bad patch in 2018, and um, it was something personal that was happening in my life. I went through a bit of depression and whatever, and then I went back. So I started having these little, pains in my upper abdomen and whatever. I got scared, so immediately I went back to the doctor, and they said like, "Yeah, Mark, you got a they did all the scans and tests and blah, blah, blah. And I had this cyst that was on my pancreas. And they did their tests and they said, yeah, it is a malignant cyst. It is, if I don't know the medical terms to use or whatever, but it was on my pancreas. So they said, like, we can't do any more chemo for you. We can't do any more chemo for you because you won't be able to handle it anymore. Your body's already, no. They said, the only thing we can do is try chemo, but we can't operate because it's in such a sensitive area. It's on your pancreas and you have a history of cancer. If we even touch you, there is a strong likelihood that it would spread and spread rapidly and you won't have much time. So I said, okay, whatever. Again, last shot, what do you do? Trust your doctors. I trusted them. But then the nice thing was, again, here my mom comes in. I'm sorry, but I'm actually grateful to her for bringing up her name over and over again. Again, inspiration to me. So over these years, she had found out about this guy in Shimoga district of northern Karnataka who ran an ashram, and he was into these Ayurvedic sort of treatments for cancer. I think, yeah, it's called the Narayana Vaidyalayya Cancer Institute. It's just Google cancer treatment in Shimoga district. You'll get it up over there. So despite having my chemo this time, I just said, what the heck, you got nothing to lose. Let's just go and try this out. So I actually made the first trip over there. And trust me, this place is like up in the Western Ghats. It takes you a long, long time to get there. It costs a lot of money. But once you get over there, you'll be shocked to see because the queue starts at about 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the night just to see this guy. And there's thousands and thousands of people there. I've seen people there from Russia, from the US, from Australia, all over India, all over Asia. I mean, you just have to join the queue. And all this guy gives you is just like herbal treatments. So I got my chance to meet him. Very elderly guy then. Sadly, he passed away, I think, just a few months ago. I just told him, I said, this is my thing. I showed him my medical reports. No problem. No problem. You take this medicine, you boil it in 15 liters of water, let it come down to 7 liters, put it in your fridge. Every morning you drink, every night you drink this. And I'm going like, dude, seriously? Seriously? Is that the treatment? But trust me, anybody who's listening to this guy has cured thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of people. I give him a lot of credit, okay, for curing me because I started taking this treatment from him. Within a few weeks, I actually saw the difference. I felt the difference. I got my appetite back. I got my energy back. I started becoming a lot more positive in life, in mind. I started putting on a bit of weight. And when I went back to my allopathic doctors in Kidwais and I told them this, they said like, wow, this is like, we've heard about this guy. In fact, they want to get him to open a branch in the hospital, but they said like, you are a living example of what the Narayana Vidyala Cancer Treatment Center has done. So I give a lot of credit to this little place, and it's Narsipura district, Narsipura, which comes under the Shimoga district. So I still now tell people alternate therapies work. You can have your radiation, your chemo, but hello, we live in India. India is the center of Ayurveda. It works. And I actually make some of the medicines at home myself for close friends, Sarsop, for example, and I distribute it. And I learned this from mom.
And we have jumped through 2018 and we are in 2021, and you're doing great.
I am. Oh yeah. Woo-hoo. Woo-hoo.
Happy to hear that. Well, while we went through that journey of Mark since 2009, from the time he was diagnosed with cancer to now doing great for himself in 2021. While one side the cancer journey that was going on, let's take a sneak peek of what was happening on the other side. All right.
Sure.
So, um, Mark, what I found really fascinating is for someone to look beyond their troubles, their distress, their difficulties. You can choose a word that suits you for this one, and and still go on to um, live life to the fullest, to still search for a deeper meaning of life, and that's something this talk show is all about. And so this part of the interview is my favorite. So let's start off first with um, your booze and brains. So some of the things that Mark does, like by now you know that he's one of the most famous MCs. I've said a lot in the introduction of different things that he does, but I'm going to acknowledge a few of his achievements. So Mark runs a quizzing show called Booze and Brains that went on, if I'm right, to become the longest quizzing show ever in the Guinness Book of World Records. Am I right?
Still is.
Yeah. Can you
Still is the longest running quiz in the world.
in the world?
27 years.
Wow. And so during your period from 2009 to 2021, was the quizzing event still going on regularly?
Every single Thursday. In fact, I remember I was doing the quiz at Opus, which is like the most happening place in Bangalore in those days. And I had chemotherapy on Wednesday morning, but because I had such a huge fan following, and I still have such a huge fan following for Booze and Brains, I had to go, and I went. I mean, don't even ask what my physical condition was. I went and I did the quiz. I collapsed on stage. My friends and family picked me up, rushed me to hospital. A friend took over and completed the quiz. But that was my spirit. Booze and Brains has been my passion, still is my passion. I will still continue doing it till the day that I die because it's something I invented. I invented. I had the guts to do it. It was the first ever pub quiz, using that word pub quiz in India. And this was way back in 1996 when I started it. And yeah, I'm pretty proud of the fact that we're still running. We're still running. I still have a fan following. We have our own page on Facebook, which has, I don't know, a few hundred or thousand followers. We're on Instagram. Um, I've done this quiz all across India. I've done it in about, I think, 27, maybe 29 countries across the world. I still get bookings to do the quiz, and it's fun. It's not a normal pub quiz. It is not a normal pub quiz. People, yeah, they come for the quiz, but they actually come to see Mark Rego because they know that Mark Rego, even now I did it. I did it a few weeks ago. I don't mind getting onto the table or the bar counter and shaking my booty or shaking my ass. Uh, that's what I think I was born to do. I was born to entertain, and I still have the energy at 52 years old to do it. Booze and Brains.
That's just so amazing, and I hope I can even also take that inspiration from you and be the same, have the same spirit when I'm 52. Please bless me with it.
You got a long time to go.
Okay, so so other than Booze and Brains, you were also the brand ambassador for Live Life, Love Life. So that's the brand under which you do a lot of work for your cancer. Can you give us a synopsis of that part of you?
Okay, so I'm not the brand ambassador, but I think everybody in Pune associates me with Live Life, Love Life Foundation. So I used to do Booze and Brains also in Pune for about 4 years every Tuesday. I used to fly out there every Tuesday for 4 years, do my show in the evening, come back the next morning to Bangalore. And it was during these 4 years that, I actually built up such a beautiful family in Pune. We were a nice clique of friends, a big, big group, because everybody used to come for my show because it was like the most happening show in Pune. And some very good friends of mine owned the place. It was called, those days it was called Post 91. Today it's called Malacca Spice. And Chiru, who and her husband Praful owned the place. Chiru was the main chef, and we had this, as I mentioned, a nice little group of us that they used to come for my show, and then we used to hang out after that. And then I don't know. I mean, life is so cruel, or God has something planned. Within 1 year, sorry, within 6 months, I think 4 of those women, ladies, passed away from cancer, including Chiru, who owned the place, And she was much, much younger than me. And she used to call me every day, Marco, how? So they've seen me fighting the battles. She used to call me every day and said, like, how do you do this? Is this the right medication I'm taking? How do you stay so positive? So anyway, very sadly, when they passed away, so 2 of the Praful, Chiru's husband, and another of our friends, their husbands, who both lost their wives to cancer, they set up this little foundation called Live Life, Love Life, because both those lovely women were like examples of happiness. If you saw them, it was only, they were always smiling, always happy. So they set up this foundation in memory of their wives, and they roped me in because I had fought cancer. I was also the good friend, and they said, Mark, what do we do? I said, like, come on, let's raise funds, man. I mean, you guys are rich. You drive a Mercedes Benz, you drive a BMW, but what about those poor people on the street? How are they going to support themselves? So they started this foundation, and they roped me in. So once a year, I go into Pune and we do this huge fundraiser. And initially, we started the first year. I think we raised about 17 or 18 lakhs. Then word spread because of what work we were doing. The next year we raised, I think it went up to about 47 or 50 odd lakhs. The third year it went to almost a crore. I think last year in one night, we raised close to 3.5 crores. Okay, and all that money was donated live. Okay, they work with a lot of people who work with people who are working with cancer. Right now, I know for a fact there are four mobile Volvo buses going around Maharashtra to all the rural areas. Mind you, the rural areas, the villages have a lot more cancer cases, but they have no access to treatment. So 4 of those buses that are driving around are from Live Life, Love Life Foundation. And it is what funds we have raised. This is brilliant. It's just brilliant. Unfortunately, this year, because of the pandemic, we couldn't do a fundraiser. We were planning on doing it online, but I think it just didn't work out. We will do it again. And I hope this time we'll touch like maybe 10 crores. And all that's in one night.
I hope to. Wishing you all the very best. And of course, all the other members from the Love Life Foundation. Thank you for the wonderful work that you're doing for the community. Heart and love goes out to everybody out there. So from Live Life, Love Life, you also are a part. If you follow Mark on Facebook, you'll always see him with those beautiful souls buzzing with life, sharing those smiles, sharing that energy through Facebook. You can actually receive it. And that is his another foundation called the Jeevar Athani Foundation. Did I get that right, Mark?
That's right, yeah.
Can you tell us something about what kind of work you do with that foundation?
Right. So I think I mentioned this earlier where Joey and his family, who are my neighbors behind, they set up this foundation to look after little kids. And initially, I used to just go there and spend some time with the kids, take my guitar, play a few songs for them, teach them a few games. And I think after a period of time, and I must add, it used to give me a lot of joy because I love being with kids. I love entertaining kids, playing with kids and stuff like that. I became sort of a fixture with Jivarani, and I used to spend a lot of time over there, um, helping them out. Then later on, if you could, if I could use the term, I came into the role of, I took it upon myself to raise funds for them. I still do, but I've also been, I don't like boasting about it, but I've also been part of, rescuing a couple of kids uh, who really needed, well, they really needed rescuing. And that's how my association with Jivarani started. And it's going to be with me till the day that I die, because those kids are absolutely amazing. We've got about 57 of them now, both boys and girls. Uh, Happy to say that four of the girls who, when I started working them about 11 years ago, four of those girls have actually finished their 10th standard exams just a few months ago. And now we are looking to see where do we place them. We are definitely sending them to college. But we try to encourage them to use their natural skills. One of the girls, Jyoti, she's said, we always sense that, she liked makeup and she liked playing with her hair and doing up her hair. So, because I'm a small time partner in a salon here in Bangalore called Jazz Up. I've made arrangements for, her to come and do a course with Anita, who's my partner in this thing, where she can learn hairdressing and styling and nail art and makeup and stuff like that. So in small ways, like it's just small ways, but if you can help them, what the hell, man? Let's do it.
That's amazing. And that's beautiful, Mark. Thank you. And now coming back to Mark's passion, this is where he started in the year 1985, when he actually decided to follow what he loves doing. And now we are revisiting that part of his life of him being a restaurant owner. And I think he owns three branches across Bangalore. And I'm waiting to just come and taste some of your food. I've heard so much about it. Can you tell us your brand name and your plans, and also when you were fighting cancer, did the restaurants run like normal? How was that like?
Oh yeah, so as you probably heard before that, I come from a hotel background, then I went into entertainment. So cooking and me have always gone hand in hand. Uh, it's a passion for me. I mean, I just love cooking. I love cooking. So how this little thing started was, it was, I think, my daughter's, Shanice's, I think, 14th or 15th birthday. And they had the party at home. And then we asked her, like, baby, what do you want to have? What do you want to serve your friends? She said, like, Marco, can we do burgers? So I said, okay. So I put together my own recipe at home and I made burgers for these kids. And these kids went berserk, absolutely berserk with the burgers. And they're like, man, these are the best burgers we've had ever. Oh, blah, blah, blah. So that is how I got the idea. Uh, and I opened a small little joint on Infantry Road in Bangalore. And that's how Pepperzing, which is my brand name, started. Oh, by the way, uh, the name came from my daughter. She named it Pepperzing. And why Pepperzing? Adult that I am, I'm trying to think of a name. What do I call my joint? What can I call my joint? My daughter asked a very simple question. Marco, what's your theme? So I said I wanted to be happy because I'm a happy person. I wanted to be colorful. I wanted to be simple. So she said, call it Pep. So I said, okay. And she said, so she took off on the fun element. She said, call it Pepzing. And they said, if you want to add spice to it, call it Pepper, short form for Pepper Zing. So that's how the name came up. So I started that. And I mean, people love my food. We had queues. I mean, like what you see on television, TLC channels, and all, I actually had queues waiting outside my restaurant to come and eat a burger. And we just kept it simple. It was just burgers, hot dogs, and a few sort of continental stuff. yeah, so that's how everything started. And then now we have 3 branches. In fact, somebody's actually talking to me now. Once this pandemic sort of eases, we're looking to open up branches in Hyderabad and Pune. And yeah, so that's about purposing. Did I miss out anything from the question?
No, you bang on. So I have no idea how the last 1 hour went, but it was probably the most interesting 1 hour of my day. And for those of you watching us, those of you who will watch us, this is Mark Rego in a nutshell. But here comes the most important question that I'm going to be asking him. And since he himself did mention it, hope is the most important quality or a value a man or human should have. Okay, so Mark, what is your mantra that just kept you going? I know while you mentioned to me multiple times, you did mention to me your mom was a very important person for you to put up that fight for the way you lived your life. You did mention to me about the strength that you seen in your mom, the strength that you had in you. You also did mention a little bit of the God fearing value that came back to you and your belief in God, which is so important. And then you also mentioned to me the love for life that you didn't want to just give up and you knew that you can put this fight on because, goddamn, what you've got so much more to live for than just the one disease, cancer. And in your journey, you also found your calling to work with cancer patients, to work with little kids, to follow your passion in life. And there's so much that you found in that journey, which most people will fail to see. But I want you to tell me what was the secret mantra that just kept you going. If there's more than one, it's okay, but just give it to me in points.
Never give up. Never give up. Never give up. Uh, my mom and dad's words: if you can make a difference to one person in your life today, you've done your duty. Right? So I never gave up. Never gave up. Uh, I still try in whatever small ways to make a difference to anyone who crosses my path. And I think the most important thing is positivity. I mean, come on. I'm sitting at home now. I'm locked up at home. Bangalore, pandemic, huge thing. I'm scared. But you gotta find ways to be positive about it. And I think my mantra, if I could use the term that you use, my mantra is, and the success to me has always been my positivity. I never give up. I will find, if I'm feeling down, and come on, I'm a human being. I go through, by the way, I fought depression a lot, a lot. I shouldn't be saying this, but attempted suicide a couple of times. But now I realize like, damn, God's put you on this planet for a reason. Make the best use of it. Just be positive. So I find ways to keep myself occupied. The moment I feel down, run to my garden, put some plants up, water the plants, or go to the dogs or the tortoises or the various animals that I have. I get my comfort from these kind of small, simple things. Positivity, positivity, and yeah, smile, smile. Eesh.
While Mark did share his secret mantra with us, it's still commendable because to maintain that state of mind and be positive continuously could be extremely difficult, especially when you're facing trauma over and over again. And but he also did tell us where he gets his positivity from sheer looking at his purpose in life to serve the community, to live life to the fullest. And what more could be a reason for a human being to live life to the fullest? I mean, anything would seem achievable if you just have that right attitude. And that's what the chat with the warrior is all about. Because when somebody asks me why do you want to do this chat show, is I just mentioned one thing, saying the one thing that cannot be taken away from a man while he's presented with any number of situations is man's attitude of how he wants to deal with any given situation. And Mark, you've been a living example for that to me and to many others. And when I told people that I'm going to be doing this with Mark, the first thing that I've got to hear as a reply from them, I don't know if you could have found a better human being. The story was not important, but they just said a better human being. And I think that matters so much for the difference you made knowingly and unknowingly to people. So on behalf of a lot of people we know commonly, on behalf of a lot of people who's been benefited from you, a lot of people whom you will continue to be blessing with your love and your own experience, I want to say a big thank you and a big hug to you. Loads of love for what you've been doing, and please continue to do. The world, the universe needs a lot more people like you to make this world a better place to live in. And I'm sure the universe and the Almighty will continue to be with you. But as of now, I'm going to say, I love you and thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me on your show. I was feeling a little down today, but I mean, man, you just lifted my spirits. I enjoyed myself. I hope people who see this, get some hope. Um, I hope I've lifted a few spirits. Um, yeah, I just hope a little more positivity is being spread. Thank you so much, Maryann, for having me. Thank you. God
You too.
bless
Bye
you.
bye.